morning, everybody. It's Sunday, the 23rd of September, 2012, and this is CombatCounselor Q&A. I'm Chris Sorrentino. Welcome. Hope you've had a good week. Today we're going to talk a little off the cuff. I'm not going to be answering any questions. I'm going to talk about values, something that I was saving for later, but has been seemed quite pertinent lately with all the strife in the world, the elections, politicians saying and doing some things that kind of bizarre, and also just the general behavior of people seems to be much less respectful and much more self-centered than I remember it being in the past, and maybe you feel the same way. So I'm going to talk quite candidly about my feelings about how things are going in the world and in general, and the loss of focus on values, not just individual values, but institutional values, national values, because I believe that's where a lot of the turmoil today is coming from, is a loss of focus on values. So first of all, what are values? Values are a signpost, a direction. It's something to strive for. It's not something that you can achieve like a goal. You can't say, oh, I've attained this value. It's more elusive. For example, the value of integrity. How do you achieve integrity? Well, you can act with integrity. Okay, integrity means, to do the right thing, to say, if you say something, to follow through and do it, so that people trust you. It's a way of behaving. It's a long-term value. It's a direction. You want to move in that direction. You want to act with integrity whenever possible. Okay, but sometimes we're humans and we don't act in accordance with our values. Integrity is a very important value of mine, and I try to act with integrity at all times. Have I failed? Yes, I've failed on a few occasions, and I'm not proud of that. I'm not go into any details about what I'm not proud of, but that's not appropriate here. But values are, like I said, a signpost, a direction for us to head. My values are selflessness, loyalty, integrity, compassion, excellence, and dignity and respect. Okay, I know those values cold, and not only can I recite them, I know what they mean to me. I've explored them and thought about them in great detail, so that when I'm confronted with a situation where I might be a little anxious, and then, I have anxiety sometimes, or I may be sad or depressed, and I've been sad and depressed. When I'm confronted with a situation, it could be combat, it could be somebody verbally attacking me for some reason, and a couple instances come to mind recently, which I may or may not talk about, but I know that I can act in accordance with my values, even though the situation may be a difficult time to do that. And I can do that rather than, because without values, okay, if you're not clear on your values and you don't know what they mean to you, maybe you've never defined them at all, or maybe you just kind of lost focus on them. When you don't know your values, you're going to act emotionally, you're going to act impulsively, okay? And that's when we act selfishly. That's when we act in a self-centered way. Because that's the easy thing to do. It's all about me, me, me. If you don't value compassion and loyalty and dignity and respect, treating people with dignity and respect, if you don't value those things, then when it comes time to act, you're going to act selfishly, emotionally. Okay, and that's, I think, the problem that we're having in the United States today, and in many countries around the world. So I just wanted to talk a little bit more about values, what they mean to me, and then what you can do once you've defined your values. I'm in the process of writing a book. It's called Get Off Your Butts and Live a Value-Driven Life. That's a freaking order. I hope to have it done by the end of this year or early next year. Unfortunately, my time has been taken up by people that have not acted in accordance with their values, and have caused me to spend a lot of time focusing on them rather than focusing on the things that are important to me. So I'm a little bit behind, but I plan on having that book done hopefully in the next few months. But I'm also developing a system to go along with that book. Okay, and one of the components of that system is a online assessment, a web-based assessment, and it'll also become an app once we get it developed, where in 15 minutes or so you can define your values very clearly, and the product of that assessment will be basically 6 core values, the 6 values that mean the most to you, so that you can understand them, you can memorize them, because it's important to know them cold, but not only memorize the words, memorize what they mean and understand very clearly what they mean to you. So that's something I'm going to be offering to my clients and possibly to the general public as a part of working with me and my system. As I said, there will be an app developed based on that program once we get it finished. So I want to help the world one person at a time establish their values, because once you have values, like I said, mine are selflessness, loyalty, integrity, compassion, excellence, dignity, and respect. Okay, once you define your values, then you can set goals. Okay, without values, how do you define your goals? Okay, it's much easier to set goals, define goals, when you're clear on your values than when you have no values. When you have no values, goals are all over the place, and again, are basically structured around emotion, and that's not a way to go through life. That's why people are acting in such self-centered ways these days. Think about it. People driving down the street talking on the cell phone or texting while they're driving, and doing 20 miles an hour in a 35 mile per hour zone. We see that kind of stuff all the time. I see people flicking cigarette butts out the window. Thing after thing, people just don't care about anybody but themselves. And I'm talking in general. There's a lot of wonderful people out there, and there's a lot of people that treat others with dignity and respect, and they're clear on their values. But it seems like, and I don't know the exact proportion, but it seems like more and more people are kind of lost. And so my goal, I can only focus on me and what I can do. And so I focus on my behavior, all right, and I try to act in accordance with my goals whenever possible. But I'm a teacher, and my goal is to teach people, one person at a time, or maybe 10 people at a time, or maybe 100 people at a time, using my proprietary system, body, mind, behavior therapy. In 8 to 12 hours, I can teach them how to be more effective, how to stay present, okay, to focus on the present moment, how to be resilient, to develop skills that make you more resilient in those situations where there's combat or an angry person or whatever, a trauma. Develop skills of resilience, okay? And then finally, I teach them to stay the course. I help them define their values. And then not only once they define their values, to set goals, achievable, attainable, reasonable, measurable goals that allow them to proceed in life, okay? And when there's a situation that's difficult, combat, whatever, angry person, that you can take a deep breath, clear your mind, focus on the present moment. You've got those resilient skills, so they're there to take advantage of, to use, and act in accordance with your values rather than act emotionally. Okay, so for me, I'm approached by some angry people, all right? I took a deep breath. I could have gotten angry and gotten in their face and yelled at them, but I didn't do that. I just took a deep breath, thought about my values. Okay, I want to treat them with compassion and dignity and respect, but at the same time, I have rights and I need to stand up for my rights. So I said in a very polite way, a very direct way, hey, I was here first. Would you mind turning the fan off? And hopefully I thought that would be the end of it. When it wasn't, I explained myself in detail a little further. Not, focusing so much on them, but focusing on the situation and how it affects me as a person. I can't do anything about their behavior, but I can control my behavior. And it seemed to work in that situation. So, values seem to be a thing that people are struggling with right now. That's why I want to focus on that today. So, I hope I've clarified where I'm coming from. I use Twitter quite a bit, and I talk about values quite a bit on Twitter, because values are the cornerstone of body, mind, behavior therapy. They're the cornerstone of life. And if they're ill-defined or undefined, or we're not clear about what they are, then we're going to act in emotional ways, in selfish ways. And that's got to stop. I've had enough of it, and I hope you have too. So think about it. Even if you don't listen to me or read my book or come to my seminars or even watch my YouTube channel or read my blog, define your values. It's not hard to do. There's all kinds of applications, there's all kinds of programs and websites available where you can do that. Define your values. Once you define your values, you only need 6 values. That's all you need, 6 or 7 values. 6 is fine. Define your values and then set goals based on those values. And I think you'll find that it's much more easy, it's much easier to act in accordance with your values, okay, even in the face of anxiety or depression or anger or guilt or shame or any of those strong emotions. It's much easier to act in accordance with your values in those situations when your values are clear. I'm Chris Sorrentino, Combat Counselor. I hope you enjoyed my discussion and understood it. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at combatcounselorchris@gmail.com. And don't forget to watch my YouTube channel, subscribe, check out my blog. That's CombatCounselorblogspot.com. And follow me on Twitter. I send out inspirational messages every day. Very few days do I miss, so maybe you can learn something from me. And maybe I can learn something from you. So have a great week. Thank you.